Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you a review of the new My Little Pony collection by Pure Cosmetics. They recently sent me the whole collection in this awesome little caboodle that just makes me like so happy just looking at it. And they released a bunch of products, a new eyeshadow palette. They released 6 glitter lip glosses, a new brush set that comes in this pouch, and also some highlighter sticks. So if you guys want to see my thoughts about all the products and also swatches of all the products, then just keep on watching. Alright, so the My Little Pony collection is now available on the Pure Cosmetics website. I'll leave the details and links to all the products in my description box. And it's launching around this time because the new movie, I think, releases in October. So it's just like the Trolls collection that they released last year. It's like very similar themed for like the movie and everything. And I'm going to start off with the eyeshadow palette, which is kind of comparable to the Trolls palette. I do not have that one, but I'm just going to compare it and show you guys a picture so you can get like kind of my thoughts on it, just having this one and having seen the Trolls palette. So this one is $29. It has 16 shadows, it has 7 mattes and 9 shimmers, and you guys can see it's super colorful. And I'll insert a picture somewhere around here of the Trolls palette, which I kind of really want now and I think is still available. That one is colorful as well, but this is really colorful. That one has more neutral shades to it, and this one you kind of have to commit to color when you use this palette. It's very cool tone, and I just love warm shadows. Cool tones don't usually look that great on me. Like, I need to kind of be very selective of what shades I use, because with my like really warm undertones, sometimes something that's gray or purple or blue can just kind of turn greenish or just look really muddy because it just clashes with my skin tone sometimes. So this is very cool tone, just keep that in mind. And also with this palette, you have to be really creative with your transition shades, especially because you do have this shade called Generosity, which is like this brownish plumish shade and has kind of like a gray tone to it. It's kind of a weird shade for a transition shade. I definitely prefer, even if it's cool tone, I prefer like a cool tone brown or taupe or like a purple that doesn't have a mix of other colors in it. So you do have to be pretty creative with your color combinations, which can be challenging or fun at the same time. So just comparing it to the Trolls palette from what I've seen, because I don't own the palette yet, this one's a lot more colorful. That one has more neutrals and more transition shades. So that one you could do more like pops of color, but this one, like, you're going straight in with color. So you could either use this as like an all colorful palette or like a supplemental palette with like your other palettes to use the neutral tones from those palettes and use this one for the colorful shades. When I get an eyeshadow palette, I just want to use that palette. Like, I don't like going back and forth between like 3 palettes. Like, I don't like a palette buffet every time I do my eyeshadows. I want to stick to one palette, even if it doesn't have all the shades I want in it. I just want to stick to one palette. So it was a little challenging for me to come up with looks with just this palette, but you can definitely do it, of course. Especially if you're into color, you'll probably be a bit more creative than I have been using this palette. I'm gonna go ahead and start swatching everything, and honestly, the formula is what's probably gonna deter a lot of people from getting this palette. And you guys will see as I'm swatching them, they're not going to be the best swatches. A lot of them perform really nicely on the eyes, especially the mattes, but the shimmer shades, a lot of them have a lot of fallout, or they're more chalky or glittery, so they're not like smooth satin shimmers. I don't think any of them, and I've tried and swatched all of them. You guys will see what I mean as I'm swatching. I'm starting off with this matte shade called Kindness. It's a yellow kind of bright shadow. And then next we have Fluttershy, and this is like this pink cotton candy color. It's so pretty, but this one like is so barely pigmented at all. And then next we have that one transition shade I mentioned called Generosity. And I just wish this was just a plain like taupey brown and didn't have that purple undertone. And that's because that's like my one transition shade in the palette. And if I want to go in with like red and other shades, I don't want that purple undertone in there. So that is on my eye today, and you can barely see it in the swatch. When I swatch it, you guys can see it's like super light, super minimal. It's definitely not like a really creamy pigmented formula. Next we have Rarity, which is a straight just white which kind of confused me in the palette. I can't see myself ever using just this white shade, and it's also very light. It's way too light for me to like set my eyes with. I could use it for a brow bone, but it's still like really light. I wish it was just like a white shimmer shade because then you could play with it a bit more. Next we have the shade Applejack, and this is like a goldish glitter shade, and this is more of like a loose glittery formula, so it just doesn't look very like sparkly or pigmented when I swatch it. And that's gonna be the case with all the shimmers. Like they need some help. And because it does have bigger glitter chunks, that's something that definitely needs a glitter glue or something to work with. It's not something that's gonna go on easily on its own, which is definitely not my favorite kind of formula. I don't like to kind of make my shadows work. I just want them to work when I buy them. And then we have the shade Honestly. This is a really pretty just chocolate matte brown shade. And next we have the shade Laughter, and I like this shade. It's kind of like a taupey purple shade. If you want a neutral look from this palette, you can use this shade and then the brown and this taupey transition shade. I was able to do that and just get like a really neutral kind of like eggplant, I was gonna say egg, not egg, eggplant purpley light look with this palette. And next we have the shade Pinkie Pie, and I don't think this is gonna swatch great on my arm, but when I put this on my lid, it's like straight hot pink. Okay, that does swatch pretty good. Like you can get a really intense hot pink look with this shadow. So just taking a look at the first two rows so far, I'm probably just gonna have to wipe off my arm because I'm running out of space. But you guys can see like the shadows do not look like true to pan. They don't look as pigmented as they do in the pan. And it kind of reminds me of like Kylie Cosmetics, where I swatch them and they all swatch horribly. And then half of them apply really nicely on the eye, and then half of them you like really need to use Fix Plus and stuff. That's kind of the same case with this palette. So these are really not exciting swatches at all compared to what you're seeing in the pan, because the shimmers are just like more chalky and need a mixing medium with them for all of them, which is so disappointing because I do have other pure palettes where the shimmers are just like beautiful and like smooth, and maybe some of them have fallout and stuff or just more chunky, but some of them are just like very smooth and creamy and pigmented. The shimmers in here are just not great. So that's the swatches for the first two rows. Let me wipe this off and move on to the next two. Next we have Twinkle Sparkle, which is like this pinkish purple shimmer color. And the shimmer is very, very subtle in this shade. It's almost matte, but it has like a sheen to it. And then the shade Magic, and that's like in my, just like in my crease today. A lot of the purple tones are in my crease. With this shadow, you guys can like see my skin through it, so it like swatches really bad. You do need to build it up, but it's like pretty easy to build up in my crease. I find that this matte shade, actually all the darker matte shades, work really nicely and stuff, and then the lighter one, Generosity, is a little bit harder to build up. Next we have the shade Rainbow Dash. That's what's on my eyes today. I really like this shade, but it is a little bit chunkier. So there you see like more of a sheer finish. Again, I did use Fix Plus. With Fix Plus, it completely transforms it, but I just hate that I don't get that beautiful like swatch and application just applying it the first time. And then Loyalty is this dark green shade. It's actually not too dark, it's more bright, and it has a sheen to it as well. So next we have Tempest Shadow. It's just a bright red shade, and I was playing with this shade yesterday, just having like a matte red eye look, and it actually looks really nice when you pack it on. It actually stays in place. It doesn't like end up turning into nothing when you blend it out. So that is a red shade in the palette. Next we have Songbird Serenade, and this is like a darkish, like super dark purple that has some gray to it, and you guys can see the fallout there with that shade. Next we have Storm King, and this is like a very silver color, but there's not any pigmentation to it. Like it is a very chunky color, so you're not getting that foiled look. And then I really wish Princess Skylar, this is such a gorgeous color, but then when you swatch it and blend it out, like it ends up being so sheer, which is so sad because that's such a pretty color. I just wish that would go on so smooth on the eye. All right, so these are the shades in the last two rows, and you guys can see how they swatch so sheer and they're not very pigmented compared to what they look like in the pan, which is so disappointing with such a colorful palette. Personally, I wouldn't recommend the palette based on the formula alone because the shimmer shades especially are chalkier, you need to use Fix Plus or something with every single shimmer shade in here to get it to be this pigmentation of my eye look. And you can definitely get it there. It's definitely really, really easy. Just like one spray of your brush and you can get that pigmentation. But that's the case with like a lot of drugstore shadows too. So I don't think it's worth it for $29 when you can get something from the drugstore for like $10 or $15 and basically do the same techniques. So that's basically my thoughts on the eyeshadow palette. The colors, if you guys love them, then maybe you would want to get it. If you love My Little Pony, then maybe you would want to get it. But formula wise, I wouldn't recommend it. There are other Pure palettes that have better formula. The Soiree palette, I reviewed that recently. I'll leave it below. The formula of that is a lot better. And I've heard that the Trolls palette is awesome. And now I want to pick that palette up because this is probably a different formula because I see a lot of people loving that palette and I don't really like the formula of this one. So I definitely had a lot more thoughts about the palette. Everything else will probably go a little bit quicker because they are more positive. This is the My Little Pony Magic of Friendship Glow Stick. It's a 3-piece set for $22. And they're like highlighter sticks that you could use for your eyes, your face, your lips. And I tried using these in a couple different ways, but I really love how I have it in my inner corner today. I have one of the shades. And this one is called Joyful. This is the white one. And I've actually used quite a bit so far. It's not pointy anymore because I've been playing with it for the past couple days. And this just looks like white, but when you apply it like in your inner corner, you guys can see it's just really pigmented and pretty and it's really iridescent. So I really like that shade and they all come together. I like applying this on my eye directly because it's more of a thicker formula. So if you apply it on top of, like if I were to go like this on top of my eyeshadow, it's just gonna end up being really, really messy and chunky. So I wouldn't recommend it in that way, like as an inner corner or just like kind of like a pop of color, or for a lower lash line, you could definitely use these, but definitely not as an eyeshadow topper or anything. It'll mess up your eyeshadows. And then we also have this shade Blissful, which is like this bluish shade. And also these are very creamy, so they start to like wear down, but there's a lot of product in there. And I just love how these are really iridescent. So in the inner corner, they just look amazing. And then the last one is pink and it's called Cheerful. And this is something that'll look really cute as a lip topper as well. So those are the 3 shades. And I feel like they do look a little bit subtle on my hand, but when you apply them in the inner corner, lower lash line, or like in your waterline a little bit, they're really gonna stand out. So those come as a set for 3 for $22. So next, these are my favorite. These are the glitter lip glosses and they just look like play makeup. They look like kids makeup. I didn't think I was gonna like them, and then I applied them and I actually really do like them. These are awesome. I like all of them. I'm gonna wear all of them. They're really cool. They're $16 a piece. I'm wearing the shade today, which is called Twinkle Sparkle, or Twilight Sparkle. This is so pretty, and you guys can see like how dark it looks in the tube. But this shade, like when you swatch it, it's like purpley and iridescent. It has like this pearly finish, and I just have it on the center of my lip. So I just love that all of these are super wearable. This I loved the most because it's almost identical, and I'll show you guys, to Bite Beauty Oyster Pearl. This is like one of my favorite lip toppers. These are basically the same color. You guys will see they look identical when you swatch them pretty much. But the Bite Beauty one is more opaque, so you really need to commit to like a glitter purpley iridescent lip. But with the Pure one, it's more subtle. It just kind of changes your lip color to have that sheen and that glitter to it without having to commit to like green sparkle on your lips. So that's why I really liked it, because it's just like Oyster Pearl. It's just more wearable for every day. So that's probably my favorite one. I like them all, but that's probably the one I'm going to be wearing the most. That's the one I've been wearing the most since I got them. Next we have Rarity, which is just this white one that is more of like a pinkish tone. This is the one that's the most subtle. It's just going to give you like a pinkish sheen that has that little bit of sparkle. So that's definitely, if you just want something that's like super wearable for day to day, that nobody's gonna like be like, wow, you have glitter on your lips, then I would get Rarity. And then the next one is Applejack's. Yes, this one, it looks really orangey, but it has a little bit of that greenish hint to it. It's more of like a peachy nude shade. So when you apply it on your lips, it's definitely not like super orange or anything, but it does give you more of a peachy look to whatever lip color you're wearing. And then this one gives you more of a pink tone. This is Fluttershy. This one's really cool. This is one of my favorites. So that kind of has like that nude pinky tone to it, and it's more subtle, just like Rarity on top. This one is definitely the most bold one. This is called Pinkie Pie. It's basically just reminds me of Barbie. Like, it's straight up pink and glitter. Like, this is definitely very bold. So that is the shade Pinkie Pie, and it also has like this bluish undertone or hue to it too. It just really reminds me of Barbie. That's the best way I can describe it. That's definitely the one that's the most bold, even though some of these colors like look a bit crazier than the pink one. The pink one's definitely the one that's least wearable. And then lastly, we have Rainbow Dash. This one's really pretty too. It has that bluish silver hint to it. It kind of just gives your lip color more of a cool tone effect. So if you have something that's like really pink, it could kind of turn it more mauve-y or something. So that's why I really like these glosses, because it's more of like lip transformers. You could use it as a lip topper. You can play with your lip color a lot with these glosses because they're a bit more universal and just like really flattering. So those are the shades. I wiped off my favorite one, but that's what I'm wearing on my lips right now. And you can see it's not like super intense glitter or anything, so I really like it. It's not sticky. It's a very comfortable formula. It just feels like a satin kind of lip color. It doesn't feel like super glossy. It's not super thick or anything, so I really like the formula of all of the lip colors. And then lastly, I'm really liking the brush set. This is a 6-piece brush set. It comes in this pouch. It's $49. And the brushes, they look really playful, but they actually are really good quality. The brush hairs are really good quality, and they're like dirty now. But I think there's only one that I haven't used because I don't really use eyeshadow brushes like this, but this is called just their shadow brush. I like to use really, really small eyeshadow brushes, but all of them are like pretty densely packed. They don't feel like they're ever gonna fall apart or anything. They're really great quality. So that is the shadow brush that I still need to use, but the other ones I've used with a couple different products so far. And this is the powder brush. This is more of like a dense powder brush, but I really like that it's tapered, so you're not getting like harsh powder on your face. You could use it like under your eyes and stuff. It's probably like a little big just for under your eye area, but it's something that's more tapered so you can get more precise in different areas. It's not just like a big patch of powder anywhere. So it's really easy to diffuse product with this brush. Then we have the blush brush, and I've just been using this for contour because it's tapered, it's kind of more flat, and I like more fluffy, diffused brushes. Oh my gosh, I always struggle saying that. But I like this one for contour because it's a bit fluffier. You can pack on color, but you can diffuse it out because it's dense but fluffy at the same time. So I really like this for contour or bronzer. And then the rest are shadow and concealer. I've just been using this for my under eye corrector. This is just their concealer brush. It's really nice because it's tapered and it's more like fluffy, so it's not going to be like dense concealer on. You can like wipe it away really, really easily. Then this is the one that I've been using for my crease. This is Crease Brush. And this one is more flat, so you can get color on really easily, pack it on, but then blend it away and just use the edge or either go in like straight on depending on your eye shape. And then just a liner brush that's really angled and precise. You could probably use it for brows too, or like a gel liner too, because this is more of like a dense brush. It's gonna stay in place. It's not flimsy or anything. So I like all the brushes. The brush set is definitely worth it to me. For $49, it ends up being like $8-ish per brush, and then you also get that carrying case. And especially if you're like a collector of makeup or makeup collections or My Little Pony, then I would suggest getting the brushes because they're beautiful. They're gonna last a really long time. They're very like good quality. You're gonna get a lot of use out of these brushes, I think more so than like anything else from the collection. If you're more of like a My Little Pony fan and you wanted to pick something up, I would definitely recommend these, and I just recommend them in general. They're really great brushes and they're really good value. I guess that's everything for this review of the new My Little Pony collection by Pure Cosmetics. I would recommend the brushes and the glitter lip glosses if you want anything from this collection. I know you probably wanted me to say that I'm going to recommend the eyeshadow palette, but the quality just wasn't there, which was so disappointing because this is the product that I was planning on purchasing anyways, and I was just really sad that the shimmer shadows were just like really chalky. So definitely let me know if you have the Trolls palette, because just testing out this palette and having those color options just maybe want to get the Trolls palette more, because a lot of people say that that's really great quality and that does have colorful shades in it that are, some of them are a little bit similar. Like I know they have a pink and a green and stuff in there. So let me know if you have the Trolls palette, and let me know about how you like the quality of that palette, because I'll probably pick it up in the near future. So definitely check out the brushes, the glitter toppers. The highlighter pens work nicely, but I'm not going to use them so often unless I'm doing like a really colorful look. So they do work nicely. I'm just not going to do like really bold glitter on my face that often. So that's my thoughts on the whole collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you plan on picking anything up. And I do have a giveaway going up on my channel, or on my channel right now. I'll leave it in my description box, as well as the whole collection. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.